Hello guys, welcome back to another video on the status forecast for the channel. In today's video, I'm going to be going over the potential for a severe weather outbreak in the next week at some point. I believe it's next Thursday, correct me if I'm wrong, across portions of the South, especially the deep South, and areas across Arkansas, Mississippi, portions of Tennessee, Louisiana, Texas, and Oklahoma. And I do believe this could get extended in portions of Mississippi and Alabama, as long as the line of thunderstorms stays together, and well, the severe weather stays up, and stays powerful. So yeah, and stays together. We're also going to be going over the potential for a few winter storms that could be possible across the Northeast and the Great Lakes region, and not much more than that would be happening. But yeah. So right now we're dealing with some that first area of low pressure working its way through the Great Lakes region that is producing some isolated thunderstorms and some heavier rain bands, along with some snow on the back end of it. We can zoom in on this a little bit. We have some snow starting to develop in portions of the areas in New York. That's where the colder temperatures are. So the snow is starting to turn over, and there's also some, I don't know if you can see that right there, but there's also some purple showing up indicating some of that freezing rain. Freezing rain and sleet probably, but we have a pretty decently heavy rain band moving through portions of Youngstown, Ohio, and this is moving straight for Pennsylvania. We have kind of two areas of heavy banding of rain, one near Pennsylvania and one near Ohio. This, I would not be shocked if it produced some lightning. There's a lot of lightning being seen on radar throughout the Ohio Valley and portions of Kentucky as well. Nice little thunderstorm, almost called a supercell, working its way through Vincennes. One developing individually. It doesn't look like it's rotating, but that definitely looked like an impressive little thunderstorm moving through. But we're going to continue to see this work its way off to the north and east, which is going to eventually change over to all rain for most areas. And there will be a lot of snow, well, not a lot of snow, but some decent snowfall accumulation across the interior northeast New England. We could be seeing, a pretty decent snowfall accumulation out of this. I'm not talking like a huge snowfall accumulation, but I'm talking a very small, but plowable snowfall accumulation. And that's also part of this other system moving through the Great Lakes region as well. Atmospheric rivers continue to slam the Pacific Northwest. Not much going on right now, but I think this may change in the next couple of days as we start to get a more amplified jet stream. But yeah, we also have some rain showers, and this cold front extends all the way back to portions of the southern plains as well. This will be continuing to move off to the north and east. It'll be a snow producer for most of the northeast New England. Moving on to watches, warnings, and advisories. We have winter weather advisories in effect for portions of Maine and New Hampshire as well. Mostly central New Hampshire, more southern than it is north, but we have winter weather advisories that extend all the way back to portions of the central Maine and portions of western Maine. Notice much of the down east coastline of Maine and the mid coast and southern Maine are not really under a winter weather advisory. I would expect this winter weather advisory to extend into portions of the mountains as well, where we could see some isolated pockets of heavier snowfall accumulation. I'm not going to get into specifics right now, but we will get into that in a few minutes. High wind watches are in effect in portions of North Dakota or Nebraska and portions of western, northwestern Minnesota. Flood watches and warnings are in effect for portions of eastern Montana, and high wind warnings are in effect for portions of northwestern Montana. Wind advisories are in effect for southwestern California, as well as southern and western portions of southern New Mexico and western areas of Texas, and some isolated areas of flood warnings in effect for portions of Oregon, all the way up and down the Mississippi River Valley and the river itself, Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Arkansas, Tennessee, Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, and Kentucky. And one more isolated spot of flash flood warnings, flood warnings in effect for portions of eastern and southeastern Georgia. Before we get into radar, satellite, future radar, we do have a severe weather risk that has been issued for parts of the deep south, including areas of eastern Texas, southeastern Oklahoma, much of the state of Arkansas, only exceptions being northern and northwestern Arkansas, southwestern portions of Tennessee, and much of the state of Louisiana, as well as Mississippi, only exceptions being southern Mississippi and southern Louisiana. And I do believe this would be for potential for tornadoes and damaging winds. And we'd have to take a look at the temperatures, but if they're cold enough, this could be possibly a hail producer as well, but we'll see how things go. And if you're not aware, a 15% risk of severe weather, also known as a slight risk of severe weather, is basically this isolated thunderstorms becoming more scattered, and also severe weather becoming a little bit more isolated to scattered in nature. Depending on where things line up and how things go from here, this may get upgraded or downgraded, depending on how things line up. But this is going through. This would be issued on Tuesday. This severe weather risk would be in effect on Tuesday. So again, there's potential for damaging wind gusts, tornadoes, and possibly hail, depending on the cold layers up in the atmosphere. But we'll see how things go. The GFS model is currently still updating, so this may take a little bit longer. But here's a general idea. I don't really want to go way out into the future, so I guess this would be better off. Here's the GFS model. This is not the latest GFS model. Again, the next one would take at least a couple more hours to get updated, so not willing to wait that long. But here's the general idea. So here's the GFS model. Again, that same storm system moving through the Great Lakes region in the northeast is pretty much lined up perfectly where it would be. This would go through, and again, it would be snow producing for the northeast, and then it's going to be a changeover to either sleet and rain. And then that would be added here in another clipper system moving through the Great Lakes region, pretty much the upper plains throughout the Great Lakes region. We would call this an Alberta clipper. Moving through the Great Lakes region, entering the northeast on Saturday, and much of the day on Saturday into Sunday, we would be dealing with, there could be a little bit of a dry spot in the middle of there, but it looks like a decently heavy snow, and then snow behind it as well. So it looks like some decent snowfall accumulation. And then moving on, this is when the severe weather potential gets increased. The GFS model not indicating at those really red blobs on the radar this would be thunderstorms, but it does look like this would be a winter storm for much of the northeast. But now that I think of it, not the northeast actually, the center plains back to the Great Lakes region, this could produce some snow. And it wouldn't actually be that big of a snowmaker for portions of Maine at all, to be honest with you. This would be maybe extreme northern Maine gets a little bit of light snow before the entire thing changes over to rain, and then maybe some snow on the back end. But that moves through. Another system, the GFS model trying to hint at another system. Not this upcoming Sunday, but the following Sunday after that. Looks like, or the Saturday would be a little bit of a clipper system moving through with a little bit of light snow. And then because of that, it's going to force out another area of low pressure down to the south, which would, this could be a nor'easter. The only problem is it looks like it's going to get pushed out to sea by not only a strong area of high pressure or a broad area of high pressure. Here's your broad area of high pressure, also ushering in colder air. But that area of low pressure will also help to knock this area of low pressure off the shoreline, which it looks like that would not be so much of a winter storm. And then after that, things become a lot more uncertain as, things do become a lot harder more difficult to forecast due to the fact that this is more than 10 days out at this point. Actually more than 15, I would think. Here's a general idea of what you can see. Again, that first system pouring through, it would be snow and then a change over to rain for northeast. Notice much of the areas of anything down below the northeast is going to be dealing with much of rain throughout the system. It's just going to be too warm. Portions of the Minnesota area back to Wisconsin and portions of Michigan could get in a little bit of snow and mixing on the back end of the storm, but it's not going to be a whole ton of accumulation. Maybe a coating to an inch if anything. But that moves through. Another Alberto clipper moving through. Well, this one is a little bit farther north of the European model, which would indicate snow, and then the change over to light rain or mix in much of the northeast New England, but Great Lakes region would get hammered by a decent snowfall accumulation out of this one. And then the severe weather risk really gets amplified, really increases through next week into Tuesday, Wednesday. First, it's going to be Texas, then it's going to be Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama. And then Georgia may even get a little severe weather, and I would not be shocked. Depending on how things line up, if Florida gets on a little severe weather as well, it would be extreme northern areas of Florida, and South and North Carolina as well. And then this is going to move out, and it would be basically no snow accumulation for portions of the main area. But on the back end of this, in areas of the upper plains and the northern plains and the Great Lakes region, this could start out as snow. And on the back end of the system where there's enough cold air, this could definitely introduce some snow to these areas. Not a very heavy snow, but enough snow to make things slippery. The Great Lakes region would get hammered. Northern Maine may get clipped with a little bit of light snow before the whole thing changes over to rain, and it's just going to be too warm for anything like that. And then it's trying to indicate another system, kind of like the GFS model, but this system is just going to be forced out to sea like the GFS model has indicated. Then another clipper system moving through, and then things just become way more uncertain as things go on. So first we'll go over the rainfall accumulation, and then we'll get to snowfall and possibly even freezing rain as well. Rainfall accumulation, again, much up and down the East Coast and portions of the central United States as well, back to the deep south. We'll get a good dosing of rain anywhere from a widespread 1 to 3 inches in most spots. And there will be some isolated spots in portions of the deep south, including areas of Missouri, back to portions of Tennessee and Indiana, and portions of Arkansas, where we could see as much as between 2 and 5 inches of snow. Not inches of snow, but 3 and 5 inches of rain, possibly even more than that in some isolated areas. There will also be another jackpot in portions of the deep south, including areas of the southeast, where you can see as much as 3 to 5 inches of rain in portions of Georgia and Alabama. Into the European model, again, much of the same story, lots of rainfall up and down the East Coast and along with the West Coast. That goes along with the GFS model, I believe. And like normal, you'll get those atmospheric river moisture events, which will create lots of rainfall and snowfall for California and the Pacific Northwest, mostly in areas across the mountain areas. And there will be some isolated spots in the Rocky Mountains where you can see some localized higher amounts of rainfall. Here's the snowfall accumulation throughout the next couple of weeks. You can see much of the snowfall will be stationed over the California areas, especially the mountain areas, and Pacific Northwest mountains, both Oregon and Washington, and then portions of the Northeast and possibly even portions of the Mid-Atlantic. But most of the heaviest snow accumulation remains to be across the Canada area, especially north of the New England area and Northeast. And there will be a widespread 5 to 10 inches in portions of Maine and in interior Northeast New England that goes all the way back to portions of New York. Here's the GFS model again. I'd say about the equal amount of snow. Northeast New England gets hammered by snow, so does the California mountains due to those atmospheric river events, along with the mountains of Oregon and Washington. There will be some pretty decent heavy snow pockets back to portions of Canada, especially north of the Great Lakes region and north of Northeast New England. And some of the snow could get enhancements from the Great Lakes region due to the northwesterly winds and other direction winds, along with that convection, allowing more snowfall accumulation in those lake effect snow bands. And portions of West Virginia and those Appalachian Mountains could get enhanced snowfall accumulation as well in the higher elevations, obviously. Here's the supershock composite for the next week. It does look like much of Texas and the portions of the deep south, including areas of Louisiana, portions of the jackpot would likely be through Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, Mississippi, and Tennessee, where it would be lined up with that severe weather risk. And then it could get a little bit more enhancement across southern Mississippi, southern Alabama, and southern Georgia, and potentially even northwestern Florida. But yeah, here's the wind shear. So we're going to go through Tuesday into Wednesday. We get very intense winds out ahead of this front. As much as, a widespread, a lot of 50 to, 60 knot wind gusts ahead of this front. But yeah, so definitely enough for severe weather. And this would definitely enhance the potential for a tornado outbreak as well. This continues on through Thursday, with likely severe weather extending, as I mentioned before. Here's the wind shear on the European model. Again, it looks like a widespread 60 to 70 knots in some spots, but a widespread general 50 to 65 knots are possible. And this would definitely increase the potential for damaging wind and tornado risk as well. And yeah, that will continue on through portions of the southeast, but before the line really gets, pushed offshore. Next thing is the temperatures. Behind us, a few of these Alberta clippers that moving through the northeast, especially the first one, there's going to be a deep cold shot that will get unleashed by the polar vortex, and this will quickly drain those those temperatures down into the single digits, if not below zero, especially in portions of interior northeast New England. And this cold air could extend all the way back down into portions of the southeast once again. Maybe clipping portions of very northern portions of, out Georgia for that matter. But after that, it looks like warm air will dominate. It looks like it's going to take a while for at least the cold air to get back, if it ever does. But I mean, it looks like warm air will dominate. Obviously, you'll get cold nights across the northern U.S., but you're definitely not going to be as cold as you were. Here's the GFS model with those temperatures again. After the first two systems move throughout the northeast, there's going to be a very intense, not intense, but decently intense Arctic air blast moving through the northeast. That in the GFS model wants to push it all the way down into portions of Georgia and Alabama. I don't know how. I don't know if I agree with that quite just yet, given the magnitude of this, but it looks like warm air will dominate. There will be cold nights, obviously, but they will be mostly over the northern half of the country, mostly focused in portions of Great Lakes region back to the interior northeast New England. Warm air will dominate. There might be a few Arctic blasts that push down far to the southeast, but they won't get near as far as we've seen this winter. So now with the severe weather specifics. So again, we looked at the wind shear. I want to look now at the amount of humidity with the system. It looks like there's a lot of humidity with at least anything above 90% in most areas ahead of this front, and this is along with those storms, those thunderstorms, so it definitely has a lot to work with here. But here's the European model. Again, it looks like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, there's a large swath of humidity between 90 and 100% in most areas, so this is definitely up there. Here's the dew points. European model. Again, ahead of this front, it looks like we could get some really decent dew points between 60 and 70 degrees in most spots in this severe weather risk area, or at least somewhere in there. And this will likely get pushed all the way across portions of the deep southeast. That's why the severe weather risk may be extended back there. And the dew points would not get much farther north than probably areas, at least these decent dew points as far north as Virginia, and that's really North Carolina, I mean. And there'll be multiple chances for severe weather due to the fact that we have high dew points and humidity along with the wind shear environment. Here's the dew points for the GFS model. Again, it looks like very high dew points. It doesn't look like as intense on the GFS model, but it does look like there will be an area of 60 to 70 degrees in most areas that would be in this concern of severe weather. And this likely will get extended into portions of the southeast as well, where dew points could get fairly toasty out there, or not so much toasty. It's just going to feel like a swamp. I forgot to mention the temperatures. So the temperatures, again, the temperatures will be on the increase ahead of this front, I think, where we could see some very, I wouldn't say high temperatures, but there will be an area of 60 to 70 degrees right ahead of that front. And then that could get all the way up the eastern coast. I don't think much of interior northeast New England will get much more than, 40 degrees, and right along the coastline, up and down the east coast, you can easily get between 40 and 60 degrees in most spots. And then we'll have a few more warm air blasts, but it's not going to work as an intense. But there will be a few. Later in the month, there's been an indication of a massive warm-up, which probably could get dragged all the way up to the northeast, where it could just drag those 60s and 50s and 60s all the way up into the upper plains, where, again, we've been experiencing very cold and much below average temperatures across portions of the upper plains and back through the southern plains and even the central plains and Ohio Valley. Well, here's the European model. Again, it looks like much of the same thing. We'll have a few cold air blasts, but we'll also have a lot of warm air building. So there's that. Alright, that's going to do it for this video. Hope you guys did enjoy. Make sure to like the video and subscribe. But yeah, hope you guys did enjoy the video. And yeah, stay safe out there, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.